The human brain, an organ sculpted by evolution for survival on the savanna, now navigates a world of digital ghosts and abstract deadlines, a mismatch generating epidemic levels of anxiety and existential drift. This is the foundational crisis that Stoicism 2.0 addresses, not as a mere revival of ancient aphorisms, but as a rigorous synthesis of classical virtue ethics with the hard data of contemporary neuroscience, creating an operational manual for the modern mind. The core premise is that the philosophical practices of Stoicism, particularly the discipline of assent and the premeditation of adversity, are not quaint psychological tricks but potent neuromodulatory techniques that physically reshape neural circuitry. Modern brain imaging reveals that consistent cognitive reappraisal, a cornerstone of Stoic practice, strengthens top-down inhibitory pathways from the prefrontal cortex to the amygdala, effectively granting an individual greater sovereign control over their initial emotional reactions. The ancient Stoics posited that suffering arises not from events themselves, but from our judgments about events, a concept now validated by predictive processing models of the brain. The organ constantly generates predictions about sensory input, and it is the discrepancy between prediction and reality, termed prediction error, that often triggers stress responses. A trained Stoic mind learns to metacognitively observe its own predictive models, to label the initial impression as merely an impression, thereby dampening the aversive signal of prediction error before it cascades into a full-blown emotional storm. This process of cognitive diffusion is mirrored in neuroscientific findings on mindfulness, where activity in the default mode network, associated with self-referential thinking and rumination, is significantly reduced. The practice of negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum, serves a similar neural function. By deliberately imagining the loss of cherished possessions or status, the brain habituates to the potential threat, reducing the novelty and shock of actual future setbacks. This is not pessimism, but a form of psychological immunization, lowering the baseline of anticipatory anxiety by making the familiar seem fragile and the unexpected seem less catastrophic. Furthermore, the Stoic dichotomy of control, the clear separation between what is within our power and what is not, finds a direct correlate in the neuroscience of agency and perceived control. Chronic stress is strongly linked to a sense of helplessness, a state where the brain's locus of control is perceived as external. Deliberately focusing cognitive and emotional resources solely on one's own judgments, intentions, and responses, the internal domain, strengthens networks associated with executive function and self-regulation. This focused effort enhances neuroplasticity in regions like the anterior cingulate cortex, which is crucial for error detection and adaptive behavior. The modern iteration, Stoicism 2, therefore emphasizes a clinical, minimalist protocol. It strips away the metaphysical cosmology of the ancient Stoics, focusing instead on the actionable, evidence-based cognitive exercises. The daily practice involves a systematic review of one's judgments, a deliberate rehearsal of virtue in small interactions, and a constant recalibration of attention toward the present moment and one's own sphere of agency. For the individual grappling with information overload and emotional volatility, this synthesis offers a grounded path forward. The solution is not to eliminate emotion, but to cultivate a specific emotional profile characterized by tranquility and rational joy, states underpinned by balanced neurotransmitter systems and robust prefrontal regulation. The actionable regimen involves dedicated periods of reflection to identify cognitive distortions, the application of the dichotomy of control to daily stressors to reduce unnecessary neural load, and the use of negative visualization to foster gratitude and resilience. This is the training of a cognitive athlete, building mental musculature through consistent, deliberate practice. Thus, Stoicism 2.0 emerges not as a relic, but as a vital technology for the 21st century psyche. It is the deliberate engineering of a mind that can withstand the chaos of modernity with clarity and purpose, transforming the ancient quest for virtue into a neurologically informed pursuit of psychological robustness. In the silent space between a stimulus and our response, where neural pathways are chosen and identities are forged, lies the ultimate frontier of human freedom. A frontier now mapped by both the philosopher's wisdom and the scientist's scanner.